Hi, welcome back. You're with Sharon from Vivid Day. Tonight I'm going to be doing some prep for when I start to work on my galaxy or space theme. So I've got two kind of cool little canvas boards, or one's a canvas, just to have some fun with. Just going to paint tonight my black background and hopefully what looks like star effects, which should leave that to then dry, ready for me resin in tomorrow and add in that hopefully sense of gases and traveling through space. So let's have some fun. So I'm going to be using Crawford and black acrylic paint for my background. I'm just going to put some on here, blobs, and I am going to level that out with my paintbrush, just making sure everywhere is black. And then I'll come through with some white and just dab with my forks where the stars will be. So let's have some fun. I hope you've had an amazing evening. I've got the day off work tomorrow, so I plan on being in the studio a lot and going to my happy place. that is it for this evening. We'll be back tomorrow to start doing the resin. Hi, you're back with Sharon from Vivid Days. Day off work, so I'm going to spend some time in the studio. I worked on this piece last night where I painted my background with black acrylic, and I used white acrylic for the foreground to create the stars, used that fork effect, and I've sprinkled just a tiny little bit of glitter. You might not be able to see in the camera, but I'm hoping that's just going to give you depths and that sparkle from far away, the other stars in the universe. So we'll see, because when I put resin on it, clear resin, I'm assuming that some of this is going to all move. But the colours that I am channeling today is, for me, I'm thinking of somebody who's passed away, and this is not a sad piece, this is a beautiful piece. I'm a true believer that there's something out there. We all have our own personal opinions out there, but I also believe we're connected to space in the universe, and this to me is an homage of paying respect to somebody that's passed on, and this beautiful universe that we are such a privilege to be around. So I'm channeling some fairly nice colours of gases and tones and stuff that is appealing to my heart today. So I'm going to be using, and these are only going to be tiny little bits, but I am going to have my Clementine Orange, which is from the Soapery. It is only in the UK, I believe, but who knows, maybe it will be available over there and they're just under a different brand. I am going to be using Bright Yellow, which is Pearlex, and it's called Bright Yellow Pearlex 683, which will phase through to my green, which is a beautiful apple green, which is 635. Coming down as it transitions into my blue, I will be using my Peacock Green, which is FXC, and that's actually called Peacock Green Pearl Pigments. Again, I believe that may only be available in the UK. And finally, a touch of the Blue Purple Pearl Pigment, which is SFXC. So I'm working with powders today. I just feel connected with those. I know I've worked with these colours before, and if I just get the right balance of these colours, it should look like it's glowing out with the orange and the yellow down this way, phasing into the green here. And I know that I'll cover up some of these stars, that's not an issue, but I'm hoping that I will create some depth. So let's hope this is a lovely, tranquil piece to work on, and it turns out as I envisage it in my mind's eye. So I will be using Mastercast 121, and I have my blowtorch ready, my hairdryer, and my new gun. So I'm not using my flamethrower today, so that's a pretty cool one as well. So I'm going to get on with this. I will fast forward you my mixing the resin, but I will come back as I split it into the tiny little areas and the colours. For people that's not seen this before, they might appreciate that process, but if not, you're more than welcome to fast forward through that. So I'll see you on the other side of this as we start channeling the universe. So people who've never worked with resin before, a little tip for you is, if you buy a glass container, you can wipe it out after the end of each use and reuse it. The only thing I've noticed is you get a slight discoloration, but it doesn't prevent you seeing your markings. And I've got some tongue depressors that I can reuse time after time, so that's my little bit to help the environment. And the plastic little cups that I'm going to use for measuring out my colours, I will be able to reuse those. So I up-tip them when I've done, let it drain out, and then I give them a wipe around with the alcohol wipes. And as long as they don't break and they're not fragile, you can recycle those. Or you can also use glass ones, or you can use eco-friendly ones, whatever you want to do to help your imprint on the environment. I'm not too concerned with the air bubbles in here, because I know that my process of the air bubbles will pop naturally as they come to the top, but also as I apply the heat from either the gun, the torch, or the hairdryer. They will all disseminate as well and disappear. The only thing you need to make sure is you stir around the sides and around the bottom, and make sure you get your resin hardener as well as your resin together, as you don't want to have any sections in your artwork that don't dry or harden and leave any indentations. So all I'm doing is stirring it for 3 minutes, and job's a good one. You can normally tell as well when it's about ready because the texture and everything feels different. Masterclass, I have a maximum of 40-minute working window, but that's because I push mine to the limit and I do a lot of sculpting in the last 5 and 10 minutes just as it's going tacky and hard. That's how I get a lot of the lines, features, or specific art. What am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? Well, it doesn't all merge back into one and it keeps defined, whatever it is, the piece of art or line or texture that you are trying to create. I think that made sense. Make sure when you're working with powders and resin, if you're not in a well ventilated area, especially with pigments, you do need to wear that mask because you don't want to be breathing in those dust particles. I've got a mask on which I'm about to pop on now as I take out my powders and mix them. And it's raining outside, so I don't have the door, so I will probably have to, even though I've got windows open and doors to create ventilation, I will most likely have to wear my mask throughout this. Even though it is supposed to be non-toxic, it is still a chemical, so you do have to have precaution. So to start with, I am going to just pour my clear resin, and then I will save a little bit for the colour resin. You don't need too much for the colours because it's just to leave that tone or suggestion of the glasses, but I do need this clear to go all around this board to give it a good chance of spreading and merging. So I will use my hands to wipe that out, but I just need to make sure I have left enough of the colours. So the reason I'm not putting the pigment in first is because I wasn't too sure how much resin I'd have left. And you add your pigments depending on the amount of resin that's in there. And like I said, I only need a suggestion of these colours. So I am trying to restrain myself, which people who have been watching my channel a while will know that that's a very hard thing for Sharon to do. Okay. So I believe that's all I'm going to need for my colours. So I'm going to bring back and use the rest of the resin on here. The amazing thing with resin is when you apply it onto any acrylic, it just makes the depth and the colour stand out so much more. It's a beautiful thing to work with, hence why I'm a little bit obsessed with this and I've not gone back to oil yet, although there are some projects into the back of my mind that I want to work with. I'm just making sure I get every bit of resin out because it is expensive and a little bit of resin can go a long way. Okay, so I'll leave that on its side to drain out, which will make it a little bit easy when it's time for me to clear that out, ready for reusing. You can also reuse these as well, which is amazing. Now, if it's a big one and I was really worried for time, I would get my fingers in here because it is much quicker to do that. But I'm just trying to make sure I'm not going to lose too much resin off the edge and there's not that much movement, and it's a fairly small board that I'm doing as I'm experimenting with this kind of image. And then I'll go on to bigger ones if I find that it's successful and people like it. You just have to help the resin into the places it needs to go. It is self-leveling, but for the speed and time frame we've got to work in, you do have to push it. So you may not be able to see this, but when I get the blowtorch on this, there will be hundreds of bubbles that are going to pop to the top. And we need to do that, otherwise, if you don't, it can ruin your artwork as they raise throughout the curing process. You're constantly keeping your eye on, is it covered everywhere? Is it right to the edges? Is there any craters being created? And then just show the resin where it wants to be. So I'm just going to wipe down my stick and my gloves. wipe off my stick. I'll be able to use that again. Just cleaning down my gloves because I'm going to be touching these. And a tip is around your blowtorch or where the buttons are, if you apply a baby wipe, it will stop. Oh, let me do that right. It's a new one I'm working with. Now, there we go. So you may not be able to see that. I'm hoping you can, but there are a lot of air bubbles just pop in. So I am just going over it all, making sure that they all pop out, and it becomes almost a clearer, more transparent colour. But throughout it all, you will have to keep working on doing that, but that's enough for now. But yeah, if you put this around your buttons as the resin hardens, it is going to prevent it sticking in and making your device so you can't use it, which I've thrown away 2 of them as I've been working with resin and learning, but I am better now. So I'm going to start by adding my orange, and people always ask a lot of questions about how much you put in there. It all depends on what you're working with and what depth of colour you want. So add a little bit and then add more if you want it more, but don't overpower it, and make sure it's mixed in properly. So I'm going to use that. That's probably a heavy amount, but I'm mindful I really want that vibrant orange coming through. So that's making a beautiful colour, and even this is way too much resin for this piece, I believe anyway, but as you add it to the clear resin it will dilute, so just making sure you get all those particles mixed in. So I will leave that there, and I will say I'm definitely done with this colour. It's got beautiful rich colour, there's enough in there, and it's the consistency I want. So I'm now going to add my bright yellow. If you've not worked with Pearlex, I'd give it a go. It's the most beautiful brand to work with resin, I believe. You get that nice little sparkle. That's how much I'm putting in. Yellow can be quite, I want to say see-through because I'm not technically trained in art. So it's the one that I always find you usually have to add more than other colours, just so that it doesn't wash away and become too see-through. So that's not too bad, but I think I'm just going to add a tiny little bit more, but it is going to offshoot from my orange, so they should complement each other. So I believe I've done with the yellow now, so I'll move that out of the way and carry on mixing. So that's quite nice, going to complement beautiful. She says with confidence. And I'll go with this with the green. I've not really worked with this green too much, but it's a beautiful, I believe, fresh green. I call it apple green, but I don't know if I'd call it an apple green. But oh, I just lost a bit of my stick, which is not good. Take that out. These are very cheap sticks. They're very, I'm reusing them. If ever I go into a coffee shop and I've used one for my tea, I take it home and recycle it, so at least it has one more life before it goes in a bin. But they are quite fragile. But that's the green. Almost looks like a sweet colour green. It's beautiful. And then I will face through with my peacock green. Oh, look at that. I've done one too many pieces of resin, which is good because I've got some spare resin then. Hot tip, always leave some spare resin in case you need another colour. Did I get away with that? Not too sure. Oh. My favourite brand with this peacock colour is SFXC. I have to say that slowly to get it right. It's just a beautiful, rich colour a lot of depth and different angles, or when it's with different things it produces a different colour. It blends beautifully, and I just think it complements so many other colours because of the tones that's in there. Complements the bronzers, the browns. I've used it with blues. It's just, yeah, it's quite a diverse colour. A particular favourite of mine. And finally, through to my blue purple pigment, which I'll shoot off from, I can't reach it with my gloves. There you are. And that'll shoot off from the peacock green. So, about that amount I'm going to use. See, when I'm using this, I just see a really nice, rich blue with different shades of blue. It's got like a sky blue in there and almost like an ultramarine colour blue. But I don't see the purple myself. But I suppose if I put it next to other blues, you might do. So, we've got our colours, so let's have some fun. And I've got a tiny little bit of spare resin, not planned, but there just in case. And I'm just gonna, you have to watch out for dust particles landing as well. Alright, so because there is a lot of clear resin on there, you will get quite diluted colours, which is what you want if you're trying to create that sort of mist or gas, but I don't want to lose it all together, so I'm just going to go in fairly bold lines to start with, but just in the colour order I want, and then I'll get my hairdryer on it to move it around, and then I'm hoping I only have to do that once and it'll be done. So I just want to make sure I get this quite right. So I will tip my colours that are left over on the side, because either if you need more you can then scrape it out, a little bit of resin goes a long way, or you can you clean up a little bit easier. So leave that there, which will phase through to my yellow. Let's have a go with a hairdryer and let's see if we create some very beautiful stuff. Alright, knowing when to walk away is a big thing also, so let me get some of these stuff that blew all over. And I am just going to move it a little bit myself. I think I'm going to, oh, I've dropped some again. I think I'm going to use this to create maybe a little bit more vibrant yellow through, because that's the colour I associate with what I'm working with at the minute. I love the depth. Let's go with a hairdryer. I've done as much as I can today, so I am probably going to, well, I'm going to leave this to set and dry and see how I feel and see whether I feel that I need to come back and add any more layers to it, but I'm just sort of loving it at the minute. I just don't like it when everything's just so smooth. I feel like it needs to just look like it's popping a little bit. Don't worry, it will settle back down and bring itself back. Just trying to help give it that depth. And with the glitter, I'm sure one more go with this. I don't know what I've done with my fingers. One happy piece. Bring you in for a view and I will take some photos once it's dried so I can hold it up and hopefully you'll be able to see the glitters, but I love it and I definitely think of the special person when I look at this. Hope you like. So here we are. I hope that you're going to be able to see properly with these reflection challenges that I have. I'll just bring you for a close-up. Here is my interpretation of the universe, space, energy, heaven, a place where we are all connected. Sorry, just connecting my charger there. Where we are all connected. Nobody can dispute that, but I love some of the colours. I don't think you're going to get to see the sparkle. I love how they blend into each other and they've kept quite defined. I've definitely managed to keep my oranges and my yellow, which is what I wanted to do, phase up from the bottom to the green. And I believe that I have managed to capture something that, yeah, I will definitely look at this and connect with the greater good. Anyway, I hope you like, but if you do enjoy, thumbs up, subscribe, comments are always welcome. And I would love for you to share what you're working on. I know that you can't put pictures on the YouTube, but I'd love to connect with you all, understand what you're doing. If you've got any Facebook page or YouTube, let me know and I can pop in and have a look at your work. We are only amazing artists if we share and keep growing and challenging. So that's what this channel's about. Anyway, I am babbling on. I hope you enjoy.